I loved Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, but there are a lot of issues that almost ruin it. It's like Peter Jackson lost the art of subtlety and is trying to pull a little bit of a George Lucas on us with a lot of the comedic scenes, if you will, and some of the extras as well. I just wrote down a few notes, and I'm going to go over what bothered me about Return of the King, what almost made it my least favorite of the series, but it still is my most favorite. Go figure. Well, first of all, the opening with Smeagol and Deagle. I mean, sure, it's a good idea to include that story, but Smeagol should not have had the decrepit, high-pitched, squealy voice, you know, the Smeagol voice. Smeagol would talk like a regular hobbit when he was a hobbit. He was not out in the mountains starving for 2,000 years or 500 years, was it? Obsessing about the ring. Yet his voice had not been able to change yet. That was a really bad directorial mistake, I think, having Smeagol have the Gollum voice while he was still a fully functional, healthy, pre-Hobbit being. It just didn't make sense, and it really rubbed me the wrong way, and it had a whole lot of really just unnecessarily ugly imagery that, you know, eating the fish. I'm like, okay, this might be cool for little kids. Like, you know, if I was a little boy, I might have thought, ooh, that's so gross, that's so cool. But it just was gross. I was like, I don't want to see this on a big screen, big, giant, ugly-looking mouth eating a big, giant fish. You know? I mean, I love fish, I love sushi, but I don't want to see chunks of fish being chewed up in a mouth. It's just not something I want to see. Also, the way that they turned Gimli into a joke. I mean, in the first movie, you could actually care for Gimli because, you know, he was trying to find his cousin Balin in the tombs of Moria, in the mines of Moria. It's been a while since I've watched or read the first one, or read any of them. But this is my kitty's tale, sorry. Gimli in the first movie you could sympathize with. He was a little bit funny, but he was also a serious character. He had serious lines as well as a few of his silly lines. You know what I mean? Like, he balance, moderation. In Return of the King, they just turned him into one joke, and they weren't even funny. It was just making fun of dwarves, I guess, and it's kind of cute or something, but it's kind of, sorry about the kitty tail again. He just wasn't funny. All the lines that he made were intentionally trying to be funny lines. He was that movie's Jar Jar Binks to me. And it really ruined the character of Gimli, because I always did really like him. I like dwarves. I like really stout, powerful characters. I really like giant, powerful characters. Anyone that holds a lot of strength for some reason I've always been drawn to, I guess because I don't really have a lot, as you can tell. But yeah, it just ruined his character. He was no longer a strong, fearsome warrior. He was just a guy there to get laughs, and it ruined his character in Return of the King for me. Another part, sort of skipping forward, the mouth of Sauron. They really, again, subtlety. You've lost the art of subtlety. He's like, I'm creepy. Obvious, I'm trying to make a different angle and smile. I'm creepy. I'm convincing you that I'm creepy. You know, it was stupid. It didn't work. Any fan of Marilyn Manson from the 90s recognizes that sort of overacting, trying to be creepy, acting ability. Sorry for all the quotes, but it's not acting, it's not an ability, it's just trying too hard to be creepy. When if he would have played himself as a more serious character without all the posing and smiling and neck jerking, he would have been a deeply intimidating character. And Aragorn slicing off his head would have been more out of nowhere, holy shit, that was awesome, rather than holy shit, well, look what happened. I don't think you're supposed to laugh at the mouth of Sauron, but the way they played him, it was as if they were trying to. And it just didn't work for me. Another problem I had was Arwen. But I have a problem with her pretty much throughout the whole series. But that's because they did have bigger plans to include her, and I guess all the scenes that they built up of her ended up just being scenes of building her up. And she didn't really appear at all until the end, which was better for that part of the story, but then they should not have included her so much in the main story. I mean, I know they needed her to be a reason for Aragorn not to get with Éowyn, because I'm sure if they decided to have written a romance between him and Éowyn, the fans would be even more upset. So they decided to try to include Arwen in the Battle of Helm's Deep. So they say in the extras. But besides that, all her scenes are slow motion talking and crying. It did not work. It was just boring. Those parts of the movie were like, oh, just end. I mean, Liv Tyler's kind of pretty. It's not my kind of face that I'm attracted to. Her upper lip is way too huge for me. Her sister Mia Tyler, now she's gorgeous, even though she's also kind of funny looking. Well, when you come from Steve Tyler, you kind of have no choice but to get some of his extremely alien funny lookingness. But back to the thing, Arwen was just a pointless character. I loved at the end, though, when she grabbed that kiss from Aragorn. That was triumphant. Another problem I had was Gothmog himself. He was mentioned by name only once in all of the books. Well, he might have been mentioned again in like Silmarillion and those other ones. I've read Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales, but read it only once, and you know how much information is in one Tolkien book. But I only remember hearing or reading his name once on one page in one sentence in Return of the King or somewhere. Why did they decide to make him a half-bloated disease pus bag thing? I mean, sure, it's kind of interesting because it was a different character. No one would really expect it. But how would someone so crippled, birth defect crippled, that's a birth defect type of thing, get that high in the military among orcs that would kill anyone for being weak? I guess he was just strong enough. That would have to be with only half of his body. But he was just, again, he was unconvincing. It was too much makeup and too much lack of subtlety. Again, just have your characters subtle and ominous and actually threatening. I mean, it seems like he was trying to play to kids. Maybe parents were saying it was too scary, and so he was trying to lighten the mood or something. I don't know. It didn't work for me. Maybe if I was a kid it would work, but it didn't work for me as an adult. And what's with the Witch King? I think it's the Witch. No, I always forget. Which king is which king? The Ghost King, I guess they call it. They call it the Ghost King. The Dwemerberg. The ones that Aragorn has to show the sword, and then they fight for him. The ones that sort of swept through Minas Tirith, the Battle of Pelennor, like dish soap, literally, pretty much. But yeah, why did he give? I guess I understand they needed some sort of drama. But it was completely pointless. It was like, you owe an oath to me. In the book, he's like, oh, I see your sword, I'll follow you. In the movie, he's like, we're not follow you. And then we'll disappear, and then we'll cause earthquakes and a whole bunch of skulls to come down. More skulls than there are ghosts, because that makes no sense. And all the ghosts somehow decided to store all their skulls in one room to be opened in case some visitors come in. And then afterwards they're going to have to put those skulls back into the room. Magic? That's another thing that's always bothered me about the Lord of the Rings universe. Magic is so poorly defined. I mean, Gandalf. Fucking Gandalf! Where are his powers? He can just put up a shield and break a bridge. He can He could crush Saruman's staff by looking at it. I mean, come on, where are Gandalf's powers? He's a wizard. He became a white wizard. He should be wiping the floor with most of everything. But again, Tolkien was like, oh shit, I probably created that character as a little too powerful. I should make sure that he leaves the story half the time so that he doesn't cheat and lose all the drama. Which is how I believe what he was thinking when he was writing The Hobbit. Because you'll notice Gandalf finds excuses to disappear a lot. And there are real reasons for it. That, like, he's actually going to other places in Middle-earth and solving a whole bunch of different people's problems and kings and hanging out with Aragorn before he became king. And he was, all that type of stuff. But still, it is... What are his powers? Why is he so powerful? I understand he's a Maiar. He's a Maiar, right? Or is he one of the Maiar's bitches? The Maiar are the Valar bitches, and the Valar are the Ainu's bitches, or are the Ainu the Valar? I can't remember. It's been a while again since I've read all that. And of course, I have to address the multiple endings, which at first I was like, okay, come on. But I'm going to bet that you cried at every single one of those endings too, right? I mean, it wasn't that they were pointless. They actually were trying to wrap up parts of the story, and since they couldn't really fit the whole part of Saruman taking over the Shire with Wormtongue, and Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin coming back and forming an army of hobbits to drive them back out. But they did have to include all those other parts, like, the going back and being crowned, and the hobbits being acknowledged by Aragorn and everybody. The everyone, you bow to no one. That's the one that chokes me up the most for some reason. And how they have to go back to the Shire and pick up Bilbo and take him back to Valinor, take him to the shores of whatever it's called to go to Valinor, which happened like 40 or so years after they got back to the Shire or something. There are a lot of years that change between the movies and the books, but as everyone who's read the books and has watched the movies knows that already. Those are the things. They're probably something else that I'm missing. That really sort of took me out of the movie experience, really almost ruined the entire movie for me, but because the movie is so huge and includes so many other amazing, awesome elements, they're very minor. They become very minor details. But it's making me a little bit afraid for the Hobbit movie, because if he's moving in this direction, there's going to be a lot more. There might be a lot more Jar Jar Binks type characters among the dwarves, and that's going to really grind on a lot of people's nerves. I hope he's received enough negative feedback about how he butchered Gimli, and why Smeagol is speaking in his decrepit, choky voice when he's not decrepit and choky yet. Why the mouth of Sauron was all posing and jerky and being a comedic character rather than a scary, creepy character. Why Arwen was in the movie at all. Gothmog himself, he was just an ugly, arrogant character. He wasn't the type of character that I would want to watch. Not just because he looks completely disgusting, but also because just his character is, that same alpha male type asshole character that you just want to beat the shit out of. And he doesn't really even get an epic death. It's sort of an epic death because it takes 3 people to kill him, Gimli, Aragorn, and Legolas, when he's reaching towards Éowyn to kill her after she is pretty much crippled after killing the Witch King. But it still felt cheap. They should have played, again, a lot of these characters should have been played a lot more straight. This movie is not supposed to be a kids movie. That's what was so great about the other movies. They were funny, but they didn't quite feel like kids movies. Even, the hobbits picking their noses and all that type of stuff. That was sort of left at the beginning of that movie. The rest of the movies should be nice, beautiful opuses of storytelling and visual representation and all that. So yeah, those are my problems with Return of the King. But I still love the movie and cry every single time I see every single one of those endings.